Welcome to the Ascended School, a podcast from Ascended Consulting. I'm Adam Howard.
And I'm Rebecca Bertram. At Ascended, our vision is a future where people are prepared, not just promoted. We deeply believe that the school-to-work connection begins much earlier than graduation. Students are learning what deadlines mean, how to respond to correction, whether mistakes can be repaired, how much responsibility they're expected to carry, and whether the adults around them believe that they are capable of more. So through Ascended School, we explore the policies, practices, and leadership decisions that shape those lessons.
Our guest today is Dr. David Palank, the president of San Miguel School DC. David has served the San Miguel community for 19 years, beginning as a social studies teacher before moving into school leadership. Today, he leads the school's work to strengthen academic excellence, expand long-term graduate support, and prepare young men not only for high school and college, but for professional, purposeful careers and meaningful lives. What makes San Miguel especially relevant to this conversation is its whole child high expectation module. The school sets clear high expectations and provides the structure, relationships, and supports students need to meet them and thrive. Today, David is going to help us understand what that looks like in practice and why San Miguel's model produces such powerful outcomes, what other schools can apply, and what workplaces can learn from the way San Miguel intentionally develops people after they arrive. So David, I gotta ask, what is San Miguel doing that helps develop students academically, socially, personally, and professionally, all the things? What are we doing?
Thanks, Adam. Love being here. Glad to be a part of this podcast. So San Miguel is a middle school for underserved students, specifically from first-generation families. So 6th, 7th, and 8th. And our model is to transform lives through education, creation of opportunity, and offer lifelong support to our graduates. So we are not just educating students, we are intentionally forming young men. So formation, not information, is our real focus. We focus on forming the whole student and being able to track them, follow them, and give them support long after they graduate from our hallways. Socially, personally, we build character, faith, leadership, and a deep sense of brotherhood. We continue supporting them not only through high school, making sure they graduate high school, but also college and career. And we stay with them as long as they want to participate in our graduate support program.
Wow. You said formation, not information, correct?
I did.
Wow. I mean, right there, that's it. To quote it, that's awesome. So what is making the biggest difference for your students then?
The biggest difference for our students is from day one, we have them pointed at the North Star of being able to learn that you're not just learning for today, you're learning for the future. And again, our graduate support program is a big part of what we do to make sure that they are continually pointed at career and college success from the first moment they step in the door at San Miguel. So everything is held to, hey, high expectations, high standards. This is where we believe you can go, and we're here to help get you there.
Wow. I mean, we say it all the time too, high expectations with high support. And it sounds like you guys are using that exact same idea to help these students. That's so powerful. So what kind of challenge, and it sounds like you kind of addressed this, but what challenge was the San Miguel model designed to address specifically?
So San Miguel was originally founded in 2002, specifically for the demographic in Washington, D.C. that was the most likely to drop out and therefore the most likely to not be economically successful. And that was for young Latino males. So it was started as a middle school, knowing that middle school really is the pivotal point of any student's education. And elementary school is a way different beast than middle school. Once you get to middle school, that's kind of the direction that you might go for the rest of your life. So that's why they found it in middle school, knowing that that's really when you learn and instill the habits of either excellence or not very excellent that'll continue to carry you through high school, college, and beyond.
Right. It's really where those foundational things are created. I mean, and I taught middle school too, so I'm right there with you, and so did Rebecca. So we understand that foundational timeline, definitely.
Before we go to
person.
Yeah, and before we go to the next question, I kind of want to ask a little deeper dive into what is it that you're doing tangibly to make that connection to help them have that career-oriented thinking, that career mindset at that young of an age. What type of steps are you guys taking within your system to make that occur?
So within our system, there's quite a few things. So if you ever walk into our school, you'll see the flags of all the colleges that our students, our graduates have attended. You'll see all the flags of the high schools that they've attended. So it's constantly being reminded of you can achieve excellent things. We also have in our graduate support team, it's a 3-member team. It's basically an external counseling team. So they work with our students in 8th grade, mostly here, and then as well in high school, college, and then even through career. And they're 2 of the 3 members are graduates of San Miguel, so they can actually see themselves as not only what I'm doing here now, but they can say, hey, I sat in the seat that you're sitting in right now, and here's what I went to. I went to the University of Maryland, I went to University of Virginia. You can do it too. So it's being able to see a student that literally is very, very similar to their background, but being able to see like they achieve those things. We also bring in multiple guest speakers, not only just for like one career day, which we do have, but we have guest speakers throughout the year who are often from a variety of fields that they may never have heard of before. So everyone kind of knows, you know, doctor, lawyer, firefighter, policeman, like those are great careers, but we bring in entrepreneurs that are telling them like, hey, here's how you can start a business. Here's what you can do in this field. IT people, you name the field, we've brought people in to talk to our students about. So it's constantly like, hey, what you're doing now is going to count for how you can get to that path that you want to see yourself on once you graduate high school.
So it sounds like it's like not just representation, it's truly meaningful representation. Like you're bringing in people that have a connection to the community almost at all times.
Absolutely. Yeah. Constantly.
Incredible.
Constantly. Yep.
That is incredible. So when a student enters San Miguel, what are you hoping is different about them by the time he leaves? So how's he going to develop throughout?
Yeah. So we want, by the time they leave, we want them to feel like they have the ability to be comfortable in whatever room they earn their way into. Mm-hmm. So whether that is, a high school cafeteria to a school that their parents could never have dreamed of that they would be able to go to, whether that's the same thing in college or whether that's the boardroom when they become an executive one day. We want them to feel comfortable being like, hey, I belong here because I've made it this far and I am the type of person that can do this. So once they come in 6th grade, we call them 3-year projects because they're 3-year projects. But we know by the time, if they follow along the process, they follow the San Miguel system, and that they're bought in, the parents are bought in, the family's bought in, we know that that student will be very successful because we've been doing it since 2002.
So it's really creating the foundation of professional skills and the confidence that they're going to need in whatever avenue they're going to take.
Very good summary. Absolutely.
I mean, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
So in order to create that, right, what kind of daily practices are those students experiencing from 6th to 8th grade?
So there's a great quote that I read from a book once, and I fully buy into it. Discipline equals freedom. So from as soon as they walk in the door.
I'm taking that. That's so good. What book was that? Sorry.
It's from a guy named Jocko Willink who wrote the book, and I can't remember.
It's the Navy SEAL guy. Extreme Ownership is the name of the book.
There you go.
Spectacular book. Yes. No, I'm aware.
Yeah, fantastic book. And I fully buy into it. So every day, every minute of every day is structured to what we want the students to be able to achieve. So from the moment they walk, it's not, a lot of people think like disciplined, structured environments stifle creativity. We don't believe that at all. We believe it allows people to thrive because you don't have to worry about the expectations or the uncertainty of what's not expected of me at this moment. So by starting every day in a similar way, every student start every day with the same class. It's called Miguel class. And it's a mix of a whole range of skills that you need not only here, but throughout life. And everyone starts that first class every day in the same manner, starting with the foundation in the morning. And from there, we create a really structured environment so that our students know what to expect so that they are able to thrive.
Wow. So it really sounds to me like San Miguel communicates two messages at the same time. The first message being, we believe you're capable of meeting this expectation, and we're committed to helping you to reach it. Is that an accurate kind of overview statement of what takes place?
That is incredibly accurate. I couldn't describe it better myself.
So how do you make those expectations? I'm hearing a lot about the structure and the routine and just very a word I would use is intentionality. I feel like everything you're doing is very intentional. So how is it that you make, let's just take, I don't know, academic expectations or behavior expectations, you can pick, or maybe both. How are you making those expectations clear and consistent in your building?
So we don't assume that students know the expectations. We don't assume they know what is expected of them. So we make sure that we teach it to them, we model it, and then we're consistently coming back and repeating, this is the expectation, this is the expectation. One of the things that is hanging every classroom. Now, this doesn't cover everything, but it is a lot to be able to as a teacher, to be able to point to this and say, hey, are you being a Miguel man? And it's our Miguel man pledge. And I'm not going to recite it for you, but it lists like 6 statements of, I'm a smart, special, valuable person. I respect myself and I respect others. My words and actions are kind and honest, and I expect only the best in all that I do. I am proud to be me. I'm proud to be part of San Miguel School. So I guess I lied. I did recite it.
I'm glad you did. I was hoping you would. When you said you weren't going to, I was like, but please do.
Well, and it's able to, as a teacher, every classroom has different expectations for how you do certain things, take out your book, write the paper this way, etc. But everyone in the entire school can agree on those statements.
Right.
Yes.
And every time a student gets off track, it's easy to point back and be like, hey, are you being a Miguel man? You signed this and said that this is what you wanted to do, and this is who you wanted to be, and that you agreed to be part of this community. And that's what it takes to be part of this community. So It's one just quick way when you're in class to just be like, hey, Adam, are you being a Miguel man? Is that what a Miguel man would do? And it's an easy, quick way for them to be like, no, you're not. I'm not meeting that expectation, and get back on track.
So one of the things that teachers hear a lot in their schools is you've got to build relationship. And I fully believe in that. But it's also sometimes used as a way to tell people you can't actually hold kids accountable because you're going to hurt their feelings when you ask them to meet these standards, or you're going to break relationship when you give them a consequence. Now, anyone who's heard the podcast has heard me say accountability is love, but I want to hear from your perspective, David, of how would you say that your teachers are able to build trust with their students and keep that relationship while requiring responsibility from them, while asking them to meet the expectations?
Sure. So that's a great question. And I don't know if I can do the whole question justice, but I think one of the failures of teachers, when they say something like that, or that's how they act in practice, is not understanding that accountability really is love. And the best way you can love someone is by holding them accountable and supporting them through that accountability. So it's not necessarily, focusing on the consequences. It's focusing on the fact that, hey, the reason that I am holding you to this standard or this expectation is because I know you can do it. I believe in you to be able to do it. And that's why I'm holding you to it. If I didn't think that you could do it, then I wouldn't hold you to it. So it's being able to understand that this teacher has my back because he's really looking out for me as a person, not just this specific time where he wants to let something slide because he doesn't want to upset me.
I fully agree with that. I can't tell you many times I've actually had that conversation with students while I'm holding them accountable, where the whole thing you just said, I literally say those things almost word for word to them. And I actually say to them, the day that you need to really be upset is the day that you don't meet an expectation and I say nothing.
Absolutely.
Because that's when I must have given up on you. But then I tell them, like, I'm never going to give up on you.
Right.
But, is there a way that you help your teachers learn to communicate that message to the students as they hold them accountable? Is there any kind of training or support system around giving those teachers that language or style or approach?
The tools.
Yeah, definitely. So the way to distill it down was when I was doing research for a book I wrote. I came across this study that was incredible. And I think it's very, very important to understand. I think if you Google search it, it's like the magic 19 words. Have either of you heard about this before?
I have not.
Okay, so I'm going to probably butcher it because I don't have the statistics right off the top of my head. But basically, they ran, an experiment in classrooms. A lot of the students were, underserved students, but there was also wealthy students and other students in the class. And despite the fact that everyone benefited from this intervention, and it's 3 parts. It's communicating to them that you're giving them feedback. You're telling them why you're giving them the feedback and what the feedback is. And then you're following it up with, the reason I'm giving this feedback is because I believe you can meet these expectations. And what they found was, it was, for the basic study was, students did an English paper and they either just got feedback on it or they got it with these magic 19 words on it. And they found that the students were then asked to revise the paper, and almost every single student that got the paper back with the 19 words decided to revise it, compared to the other group with only 30 or 40% of them gave it back. So it's focusing on, I'm giving you feedback. I have high expectations of you, and I believe you can meet these expectations. So by being able to focus from day one and being able to frame everything that you do in the classroom through the lens of those three sentences, it allows teachers to be creative in how they can deliver that, but kind of understanding those are the 3 pillars that should make students feel like you're giving me this for a reason, and I know that you believe in me to be able to do so.
I love it. And I'm just going to kind of recap this idea of, we can't have just support. We have to have support and accountability. And then you can't have just accountability. Accountability has to be paired with the support. And before I toss it to Adam to kind of transition us into that next section, I do want to give you a second I didn't know you wrote a book. This is a fun surprise for me. And go ahead and can you just plug your book super quick? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but it was called Class Hacker. And I basically wanted to write a book that I would have wanted when I was a first, second, third, or fourth year teacher, that kind of explains here's the actual science behind learning, engagement, classroom management, and basically how to better reach your students and be able to help them reach their potential. So it was, it's been a while since I wrote it, but definitely, I wrote it because I wanted a book that I would have wanted when I was first started teaching.
It sounds like a great resource. Is that still available to people?
Yeah, absolutely, through Amazon. Absolutely.
Great.
Class Hacker. Yep.
Very
Class
cool.
Hacker. That sounds wonderful. All right, I'm going to toss it over to Adam.
So you're talking about really the San Miguel model is all about preparing the students for adulthood, right? We're talking about later. It's not just about success in middle school. It's about success. You got these, the team of 3 that support them through high school, through college, even the workplace, right? And they went to San Miguel. So we don't always think about this as, we don't want the middle school to prevent every mistake that the students are that occurs. Right. We need to allow the students to experience those consequences, but trusted adults are there to help them reflect, repair, and try again. So they have to be able to make these mistakes, right? How do you allow the students to experience those consequences without making one mistake just define them for the whole school career?
No, it's a great question. So I think I said it before, but it's worth repeating, is that we as a staff and then transferred over to students, that middle school and becoming a Miguel man is a 3-year process. And the only time that you actually really fail is when you quit. So as long as you're not quitting and you're trying to grow from every experience, then you're winning. So the only time you lose is when you quit. So if everything is framed in that kind of way, that we can see a lot more growth and a lot more acceptance of, you failed, here is your action that you can take next. What can you do next after this setback? So we kind of make sure that we're working with them to figure out why they may not have succeeded to the level that they wanted to. And those types of success levels could be different for each student, but we are constantly focusing on a growth mindset of students, of faculty, of teachers, of parents. Everyone in the building is focused on, hey, we have high expectations. You may not meet them from day one, but as long as we're growing and we're moving in the right direction, then we're all succeeding together.
Okay. Yeah. So you're allowing them to experience the growth mindset, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
How do you know when you're going to intervene and when do you let a student work through their own setback? And how do you help them recover from that setback without just rescuing them from every consequence? How are you ensuring they're still feeling consequences?
That is a great question. And I think the best way to do that is to have the student understand what happened, what went wrong, what can be done next, what can be done if this situation occurs. It's always focusing on, well, hey, that was terrible. That didn't go great. Nothing you can do about that now. And you can focus on the fact that it didn't go great for you, or you can point your energy and focus to, what type of plan should I have for the next go around? What type of thing can I do the next time this happens? So if it wasn't because you procrastinated, okay, so now we know we got to start this earlier. Was it because you missed part of it because you were absent? Come to school. You know, so it's like there's usually a remedy for middle school. 90% of the time, there's usually an easy remedy for most situations. And they're usually pretty common ones. So it's pretty common to be able to be like, hey, let you take ownership of it. What can you do next time? And I think that's really the important thing, is as much as you can to have students generate the plan themselves and generate, what type of outcome would you like to have for this project? The more that you give the ownership back to the student, the more they're going to buy in and want to succeed on their own.
That's awesome. So you have to give them the path back, but you're not just giving it to them. You're helping them find it. So it was actually wrong to say you give them. You help them find that path back to responsibility of taking ownership for what they're doing. I mean, it's the extreme ownership, right? We got to take ownership of what's going on in our lives, and you help the students realize that.
Which is a huge step toward preparing them for the future in their careers. Because I'll tell you, one of the things we hear all the time from the end of the extended workplace, and especially right now with early career team members, is just a lack of ownership. That ownership and accountability is something that we're having to retrain, because what you're doing may sound really logical and straightforward to people who aren't in education, but what you're doing is revolutionary right now in comparison to what's happening in most public schools. So I love how you're making sure that failure and not meeting expectations, it's still taken seriously, but it's not the end. It's not the final statement. And that, like Adam was saying, you're helping them to find that path back. And so it preserves the expectation, but it also teaches them recovery, judgment, responsibility, or as Adam, I think you just said, extreme ownership.
That's the book he was quoting earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really great. So, I just kind of pointed out how what you're doing really is drastically different. I mean, Adam and I just really, truly left education from the public school system, and we can tell you this is not what's happening.
Yeah,
it's really not. And it's such a disservice to our students. But I think that every educator, every leader in education, everyone connected to education truly wants to do what's best for the students. So we always talk about the quiet harm of good intentions, right? Everybody was like, oh, we want more kids to graduate, so they lowered the standards. But, as we've just been discussing, that really, it hurt them. And so I think anyone listening right now might be saying, oh, I can see a different path, that I could maybe try to begin to bring this to my school, to my environment, to my setting. And obviously they're not going to be able to just outright reproduce your model, what you're doing right now at San Miguel. So what are some things that they could maybe do to become more, as I said earlier, that word intentional, right? What is something they can do now to become more intentional about how they combine expectations, relationships, accountability, and support? What are some things that other schools could realistically, easily begin to implement? And I'm just going to kind of give you a lot of freedom here to hit on things that you think other schools can try to bring in pretty easily.
Sure. So,
or not easily, but it's practical.
Right. So I think we can start a couple different ways. One quick thing that they can do that is literally a tactic, and it doesn't have a whole lot behind it from a theoretical standpoint when I say it. But one thing that I think we do that is really different is that we have our students lead a lot of things. So one example is parent-teacher conferences. We say you should come to the parent-teacher conference, and we tell the students they're going to be talking about you. We'd rather you be that. You should want to be there so that you know what your parent and teacher are talking about. But once the student does get there, we have the teacher hand it over to the student and be like, what do you think I'm going to tell your parent about your performance in class? You tell them what you think I'm going to say. So it's constantly having them think in a different direction and being able to be like, well, if I were you, I'd say I wasn't doing my homework. You're right. I was going to say that. If I were you, I'd tell them that I'm talking in class when I shouldn't be. You're right. I was going to say that. Wow, this is weird. So it's by them taking ownership of not only leading the meeting, but also, hey, here's how my teachers are observing me, and here are those observations of my actions. They're leading to X, Y, and Z consequence, whether that be good or bad consequences. So I think like that's one quick thing that when I first started implementing this like 10 years ago, I got resistance from teachers about it. I said, well, no, just hold on, wait till you have this meeting and you're going to be like, the kid knows exactly what I would say. And I'm like, yeah, because they're perceptive enough to think about it. And you'll be there to step in if they're not saying the right thing. And then the parent is hearing it from their student's mouth instead of hearing it from a teacher. And then later the parent and the son are arguing about, well, no, that's not true. The teacher wasn't telling the right thing. Well, it cuts that all out. Now it's the student telling their mom or their dad, hey, here's how I'm doing in class. Here's what the teacher is going to say. And from there, you can have actually discussion and conversation about, if it's great, fantastic, keep it up. Here's how you can keep it up. If things need to change, hey, okay, great. Let's all of us work together to come up with a plan for next steps so we can solve the situation.
That's really great. I love that. What is it? So we're thinking about this. I think I'm going to do like a rapid fire. Okay. Are you ready? So you got to just, I'm going to like make a statement of something I know is happening at your school. And you're going to try to give one example of what it looks like. How does it actually happen? Okay. So for example, we'll just do like a not rapid fire type one, just kind of warm us up a little. But for example, connect students to adults who know and advocate for them. What does that look like at your school as a practice? So if I said to a leader, you need to connect the student to an adult who's going to advocate for them. How did you make that happen? What does it look like at your school?
One, there's a number of different ways. First thing I would tell you is, the first part is every student knows every adult knows every student.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. That's the first step. Every student knows every adult knows every student. So therefore, anytime that they run into each other, it's not like, oh, hey, what's your name? They know each other's name. That's the easiest way to start off the conversation.
What's the system you put in place to make that knowing occur?
Yeah. So we, from day one, we bring in 6th grade students a couple of days before 7th and 8th grade students every year. So in those couple day time frame, we have them in an extremely small groups and work through what we call boot camp. There's not like, they're not running and doing all that kind of stuff, but they're learning like, hey, here's the basics of what it takes to become a San Miguel student. And in those boot camp groups, they're extremely small groups, and they work through all the teachers and all the faculty throughout the building doing different things. So by the time the week's done, everyone knows each other, at least on some level. Now, obviously, it's not going to be the same with every student, every teacher, but at least you know them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, every teacher has met as they go up, right? So you've met every 6th grader. So then they go on to 7th. I love it. That's spectacular. All right. How do you make sure that you intervene early instead of waiting for failure to become a pattern? How do you make that happen?
Love that. So I think it is important from day one for everyone to be on the same page about what the expectations are for your classroom and for the school. And that includes students and teachers. And it's a lot of times it's on the teachers to be able to do this, but it's what we train them to do. It's like the first time something happens, you can't let it go. You got to stop the class and teach them like, okay, here's what we're supposed to do. Here's what you did. Here's what you're supposed to do next time. And it's by doing that from day one to make sure that they're all learning the exact expectations the moment they start the class, the first time they sit in your social studies, reading, science class, whatever it is.
That's so great. I'm always saying that it takes a lot of work up front.
Yes.
To really implement accountability. Absolutely. But that when you do it from the very beginning, the payout is so great. It's
such a great investment of time. If you don't do it, you're going to be wondering why in January that they don't know on any of your expectations. Well, because you didn't invest the time in August, September to make sure they really knew what you expected of them for every type of classroom activity.
That's awesome.
All right, I'm going to do just 2 more. Okay. So how do we celebrate recovery and growth, not just flawless performance? How do you celebrate it?
So each week at our community meeting, we have awards. Now, these aren't always necessarily like, okay, well, Rebecca got straight A's, so she's getting an award. A lot of times it's we have once a month for each subject area, but then every week we have Miguel Man of the Week. And usually the Miguel Man of the Week is oftentimes, at least once you get past the first couple months of school, it's someone who exhibited those exact traits that you just described. So it's someone who, hey, I'm this Miguel Man this week. Let me tell you, he started out the year here. Here's the mistakes that he kind of made, but here's the path that he's got on. And we're super proud of him because now this quarter, he's got the highest test grade or he's improved the most. So it's constantly publicly celebrating what type of traits you want from the students. And they hear it not only from one teacher, but they hear it from constantly from all the other teachers and staff members in the school that are observing the students' behavior, growth, recovery, and revision of what they're trying to be.
I love it. So last one, treat families as partners. How are you doing it?
Also great question. So we have a great, and it's a key concept in schools that I think is often missing, is we want to make sure from day one, again, back to day one, that we're on the same page about what we all want from their son. And 99% of the time, they want the same thing. They want their son to graduate from high school. They want him to go on to college or find a career that makes the most sense for them from there. They want him to go to a good school in the area for high school. So we meet during the summer, specifically for 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, it kind of differs, but we meet with all the parents individually and then as a group to kind of say, hey, here's the path that we want your son to be on. Do you agree from 6th grade? Yes. It's not just a 2-second conversation, but it goes on from there. But then 7th grade, it's like, hey, here's the path he's currently on. Here's where he's headed. Is this what we both want? Okay, good. And then going into 8th grade, it's like, okay, now it's time for him to apply to high schools. We've told you this in 6th grade. We told you this in 7th grade. Now, based on where he is, here are the high schools that we believe that he'll be able to get into and then succeed in. Is this the path that you want him to be on? Yes, no, okay. And we go from there. We also have parent meetings 8 times a year with our families. So anytime during those 8 times a year, we set up parent meetings and we have like a half day. If they can't do it that day, we reschedule with them. But it's a constant check-in about how their son's doing, not only academically, but behaviorally. So it's a constant communication, and we truly partner with the families to make sure that everyone is in alignment of where we want their son to go.
That is a completely different level of partnership. That level of intentionality of the invitation, not just saying come to open house.
Right, because we did what, 2, in our careers?
Yeah,
like
back to school night, open house, and there are parent conferences. But what you're talking about touches, everyone's saying, how do we get? And I've asked the question, how do we get deeper connections with parents in the community? And we've brainstormed ideas. I've never heard someone say, let's invite the parents individually to their own meetings over the summer. I think that is so powerful and so impactful because it genuinely shows an investment in their child.
Absolutely.
That you're saying, I'm going to take time to meet with just you before your child's school year even begins, and having that shared vision established. I think that's extremely powerful. And I think if listeners take nothing else away, I think that right there is an incredibly powerful tool. I mean, you've said a million wonderful pieces that I just think we should replicate all of it in all of our schools. But I think that one right there, that is a different level of parent partnership. And again, it's that intentionality and that taking the time up front that will have long-term payout. I hadn't heard that before this conversation of, those who are listening. And that is such a great piece. I think that's going to make a really big impact in a lot of schools if they implement it.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me a hat tip for that. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm gonna push us a little bit away from schools for a second towards the larger work of Ascended about companies, right? So we're talking about they're in the workforce now. I know that you have the middle school president, but we're talking they made it the full distance, right? So companies are investing heavily in recruiting people. They give them a brief onboarding process, and then they expect their employees to understand their expectations, but they're not usually as taught as explicitly as San Miguel, for sure. But San Miguel reminds us that if you bring someone in, it's not the same as truly developing them, right? So what expectations may seem obvious to experienced leaders, but remain hidden to someone entering the workplace? So now we're talking about the student entering.
So I think a good way to answer that is when you hire an employee, if we're talking about transferring what you can do at schools to employees,
100%.
When you are hiring an employee and they enter your organization, it should be treated in a similar manner as when a student applies and is admitted to a school. So an applicant is the same as hiring a new employee. And from that point, you need to make sure that, again, yes, there's the onboarding process, which happens. But what really, I think, where some of organizations, companies kind of have a downfall is they have like one yearly performance review. And by the time you get to that point, well, that was my year. What do you want me to do now? There's nothing you can do. So I think it would be advantageous for organizations to have more regular coaching feedback sessions about here's our expectations. How are you meeting them this week? How are we together working together for the same goal? So I think it's more of a practice of being able to give coaching feedback and the opportunities to help them improve, as well as kind of having that Socratic conversation with them to kind of figure out, well, do you have a plan for this? Do you need me to come up with a plan? I can do that, but it'd be way better if you come up with a plan yourself so that you can hit the goals and feel good like you came up with the whole thing yourself and you have buy-in for it. So I think being able to kind of pull back and say, maybe this performance review at the end of the year, it's good for me to be able to like, oh, did you hit your goals as a manager? But it's not really advantageous to the employee because now we've been here for a whole year and I haven't heard from you about how I'm doing.
Right.
You literally, I feel like we could have paid you to say that.
It sounds like you work for Ascended.
It's straight out of the Ascended playbook, and including the idea of when you have those more regular feedback sessions, it keeps reminding, it's another way to consistently communicate what the expectations are so they know what the target is. And I love how I could hear the exact mirroring of what you're doing in your school and how it would apply into the workplace.
It lines up so directly.
Well, I promise you, you didn't tell me to say that.
One thing we did talk about before we recorded that I thought had a similar vibe to it is in your classroom, you had talked about a goal setting sheet, I believe it was, and talk about very quickly, you said it had on there some options. Can you just kind of reference back to that? Our listeners didn't hear that pre-recording dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were speaking about the software that you all created and how you were trying to implement it. And I said, it reminded me of something I did in my classroom. And then it spread to multiple other teachers in the school, and it's the goal sheet. It's a simple sheet. It's talks about what's the objective for the day. So the student comes in, they learn the objective, they write it down. How much do I know about this topic? And there's 3 questions there. And then it's like, what am I going to do to achieve it today? And it's 3 questions there, and they circle one. Then at the end, it's kind of a repeat of, what was today's objective? How well do you think that you achieved it on a scale? And then options of, if you did achieve it, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 behaviors, and you can pick the ones you did do, or if I don't feel like I achieved it, okay, why not? Here are the options that you picked there. In that way, it's constantly showing them that it's not magic how you achieve things. There's certain behaviors that lead to success, certain behaviors that lead to not being successful. And it's constantly thinking, okay, I know I'm going to have to fill this sheet out at the end of the class and hold myself accountable to what behaviors did I or did not exhibit in class today.
That's huge. I mean, when we talk to organizational leaders, we stress to them when they're thinking about not just the job description, but when they're checking in with their employees, what does success in this role actually look like? Like, what are the behaviors that are occurring? And what are they saying? What are you actually hearing as someone who's like, are they asking for help in this sense, in this direction? They're asking this person. That is a successful, like, and that's it though. That's what your goal setting sheet reminds me of, is like, you have not just what you're doing that made you successful, but reminders of what you can be doing and reminders of what you can come back to. It all lines up.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% in alignment. Love that idea too for organizations that you just described.
It's awesome. So I want to flip it now. All right, I want to take it the other direction. What happens? And I'm going to say organization, but you can answer it for schools too.
Sure.
What happens when an organization expects performance but does not develop its people? What happens?
It's not going to do very well. It's not. I mean, you're not going to achieve your goals. There's no chance. You have to be able to develop people, and you have to focus on the human that is performing the task and performing the activity, whether that be in a classroom or an accountant. There's certain behaviors that you can do better at and improve, and that should be your entire focus as a leader, manager, or owner, operator of a company. Should be constantly being able to try to develop your people to grow, and hopefully those are in alignment with what they want to do, and sometimes it might not be in alignment with what they want to do. But there should be a constant emphasis on, this is a growth company, this is a growth school, and we're most important at the end of the day is, did you grow as a human, as someone who's working here, or as a student? Did you grow today? And that should be really emphasized throughout every day that you're working.
Yeah. So I feel like some of the things that we've really hit on throughout this podcast is that accountability truly requires clarity, very clear expectations, clear communication around it, support to help people meet the expectations, not removing the expectations, giving them ownership in that process. That feedback dynamic, it builds the relationship rather than breaks the relationship. The way that we've talked about it, that idea of, I'm giving you this feedback because I believe you can meet this expectation, right? And helping them to get there. Something I wrote down that I'm going to look up is, you called it, was it the magic 19 words?
Yeah, magic 19 words.
I'm going to revisit that and look that up, because I feel like that flows so well with all of our conversations surrounding feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, people need opportunities to make manageable mistakes and then learn and try again. And that culture is created through repeated practices. You talked a lot about the systems that you have in place and that structure that actually creates the freedom. So I really have appreciated this conversation today. So I want to give you two more questions. One is, when you look at the San Miguel's students and your graduates, what gives you the most hope now?
Oh, what gives me the most hope? So I think can I change it to joy?
Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
What gives me the most joy is the fact that we're a middle school, and this is only 3 years of their life. And by the time you become, 25, 30, that's now down to like a tenth of your life.
Right.
And yet they continually come back and say, these are the most important years of my life. And I learned who who I am, and I am the man that I am now because of these 3 years. And not a day goes by that I don't have at least one alumnus walk through our door, and whether that he's in high school or college, or he's got 2 kids and a wife, they constantly come back and tell me, hey, here's what I'm doing now, just wanted to let you know, like, would never have been here without what I learned here and who I became here. And that it's what has literally kept me going for 19, almost 20 years at San Miguel, is knowing that what happens here has an impact that lasts a lifetime.
And I think that's what every educator wants.
I think so. That's why most of us get into it, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I think you've just laid out quite a great map for a lot of that. But if people want to gain deeper insights into what you're doing at San Miguel, how can they connect with you? What is a way that they could keep this conversation going?
Sure. So you can definitely check out our website, sanmigueldc.org. That will give you information on the basics of our program. Another way is you can personally reach out to me. If you find me on LinkedIn, my name will be in the show notes. So find my name, reach out to me there. One final thing, if you want to personally reach out to me, you can email me at dpalank@sanmigueldc.org. We'd love to invite you in for a community meeting, which we hold every Thursday, which bring all of our students, all the faculty, all the staff together to celebrate achievements, celebrate awards, and work and learn together once a week, every week. Everyone that ever leaves from our community meeting tells me that is an incredibly energizing and uplifting experience. So would love to have you come check it out and experience it.
I know I'm going to sign up.
Yeah, I think Rebecca and I are going to be showing up.
Awesome.
It's not far, so we'll be making the drive. That's awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast today.
Thank you so much. Love being here. Love the conversation. Love what you guys are doing.
It's amazing. So at Ascended, we believe preparation is a shared responsibility. Schools help students develop the habits, judgment, confidence, and resilience that they will carry forward. Workplaces must continue that development as young people enter new roles and accept greater responsibility. Whether we're leading students or professionals, people do not grow by accident. They grow when leaders believe in what they can become, communicate clear expectations, allow them to experience manageable failure, hold them accountable, and provide the relationships and support they need to recover and succeed. This is the work we will continue exploring through the Ascended School, how we create schools that prepare students not simply for graduation, but for what comes next. Thanks again for listening, and thank you, David, for joining us.
Thank you.